Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm thrilled to be talking about the second season of the wonderful series Dr. Death, and I'm joined today by cast members Luke Kirby, Ashley Madekwe, and Gustaf Hammarsten. And Luke, starting with you, I was really interested in how you wanted to shape a lot of the kind of curiosity and what actually I view as like a very healthy cynicism that he has, because he's very much the first person to start sounding a lot of the alarm bells with Paolo Macchiarini, thinking, you know, this really does sound too good to be true based on my knowledge and understanding of medicine.
Yeah, I think he is. He's walking that fine line between skeptic and cynic. You know, I think the danger that he's in at this moment in his life is that, given his past and given some of the losses that he's experienced, he has isolated himself into the realm where he can kind of almost become cynical to the point of being too alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. I do think it's a healthy curiosity that he engages in, and clearly, he's right about it. His instincts are correct, and yeah, I mean, that was all sort of there on the page, and really fun to track and move through. Yeah, it was a joy.
Yeah. And Ashley, for you, in terms of your character's relationship with Paolo, played by Edgar Ramírez in the series, this is someone that very early on, she kind of sees a lot of herself in him and an opportunity for someone who's really a mentor for the career aspirations that she has. And she talks a lot about the personal sacrifices she's made to get where she is already. And so how did that form a lot of the viewpoint for your character, particularly when it comes to the moments where she's not willing to question him quite as early on?
I think that she was so intoxicated by the success that working with Paolo brought her that it was very hard for her to back away from that. She's working in a very male-dominated field. She's, like she says, given up her relationships, her chance to have a baby, her personal life, and she's very focused on her career. And he offers her this chance at real success, and they have it. And I think that must feel amazing. But somewhere on the journey, she starts to realize that this is not making sense. That unfortunately, Gemelli was right all along. And it's kind of crushing for her, I think, to realize that not only is this all a lie, but like how complicit she has been in it. Because I think there must have been warning signs for her, because she's a very intelligent woman, and she knows the research, and she knows the moments where she turned a blind eye. And I think that's kind of heartbreaking for her in a way. And I really admired how the character was able to overcome that heartbreak and kind of put a brave face on and get into the good fight with these two. And they almost sacrificed their careers for it.
Absolutely. And Gustaf, I wanted to ask you about forming the emotional landscape of your character, because when he first gets the opportunity to be part of the team partaking in these trials, he's so excited and there's so much exuberance to him. But also when there's setbacks and when he's starting to question things, he really takes that to heart a lot as well. And so what was your experience in finding the emotional landscape of a character that feels every emotion so fully?
Yeah, first of all, I was glad that that my character had. All our characters have that, but if I speak for myself, that there's hope and joy, as you say, and then he starts to realize from he's friend with Nathan, and I think he knows that Nathan, that we're talking about the skepticism and the cynical, there's some way. One side of being afraid of life also, if you don't want to be hopeful and embrace the positive side of it. So but then he finds out for himself that this is something fishy going on. But Anders has his family, his wife and his kids, son with special needs, and they depend on him. So and well, how did I find it? I also have 3 daughters myself, so I could relate to that. And yeah, but I think the whole, we are dependent on each other's. We kind of go back and forth, and I think all 3 of them finally they realize that I can't live with myself if I'm not going to tell the truth about it. I have to, because Anders has everything against him, and he's putting his family on the line, not only himself. So, but I think they all, even Anna in the end, we have to try to stop this man because to save lives in the future. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of easy to relate when you think of it.
It is. And Ashley and Luke, there's a conversation, a dialogue between your characters at one point where, you're kind of accusing each other of having different approaches with patients. Ashley, you're accusing him of getting too involved and caring too much and becoming too personal. And then he's like, well, maybe you don't involve yourself enough on a personal level. And so for both of you, I just wanted to ask about how you found those interpersonal relationships in the bedside manner, because I think the show does a great job at exploring how, there's an emotional care that they have to take of themselves as much as they do with their patients.
I think that that was really telling of their characters, that conversation, because I think they did approach medicine from a very different angle. You were definitely more about the personable approach, and Anna was more about the medical disciplined approach. But interestingly enough, they end up in like much the same place. And what drives Anna, I think, to tell the truth is, in the end, her personal relationship with one of the patients. So you were right and I was wrong.
See that? How hard was that?
Very hard.
Very difficult.
I like that scene. It really is a testament to, true friendship, where you're sort of, you're two very different people. You can acknowledge it and you can call each other out on your BS, it turns out that in some ways they're both right, actually, because Nate does get too close to, and it's a painful road for him. So she was right too.
And with friendships as well, I love the friendship that we get to see develop throughout the series between your character Luke and yours Gustaf as well. And it's kind of also testament to however much they try to leave the workplace behind, they really just don't have the ability. Sometimes they're having dinner with both of their partners at the table, watching a football game in a pub, but they still kind of always circle back to that. So how did you kind of set about creating the intimacy of that friendship as it grows, and what was the impact of not being able to leave work behind when they're with each other?
Well, I think it was really easy to relate to Luke. The first scene was that at the bar with the football. I could relate to Luke because he's a great actor and a great person. So, it's much easier to play a friendship when the person is very friendly.
Yeah, the door was open. It felt like, okay, let's just walk on in, and it really felt that way. Just a kind of smooth transition.
Yeah,
I was lucky.
I love that. And Ashley, and coming back to you, your character is working alongside Paolo for so much of the series, and we start to kind of like see how he controls her almost. Like there's a moment where she starts to question him and there's other people around and he tells her to temper her voice. And so in your performance, you really kind of see a lot more stillness and quietness in her as their relationship progresses professionally. And so how did you want to make those adjustments of just the way that she's kind of folding herself into his space more?
I think I just wanted to show the journey of Anna. And I think she starts out being very confident and very sure of herself. And then as she becomes more and more unsure of the medicine that she's practicing, she becomes more and more unsure of herself. And also for her to speak out would have been at great personal and professional risk. I mean, for all of them, that's the risk. And I think that kind of does make you turn into yourself in a way.
And for you, Luke, as well, once your character starts, once he starts becoming a whistleblower and starting to speak out in the workplace, he's very much kind of like siloed off and pushed out of the room in a lot of places. And so for you, what was the emotional impact on him that you really felt in those scenes?
I think the thing that I found sort of the most difficult about that was the creepiness that kind of comes with it. You start to second guess yourself in those situations, and to be infected with a little bit of kind of daylight paranoia is no fun thing to experience. So that was really interesting to explore, and yeah, thank God that he's got these two friends who also start to experience it, experience it. So he has something to relate to, and forge ahead through that.
And Gustaf, your character essentially is carrying out these trials and not seeing success in them, and is convinced to say that they were inconclusive because to give his real results would be more damaging. And I thought that you played that really beautifully, just the moral dilemma of it all. And so how did you approach a lot of those scenes? Because it's very internal in terms of trying to capture the process and the conversation that he's having with himself in those moments.
Yeah, it's how did I do it? Well, that's it's my job. No, but I also like that he is starting to, even though he has, he's decided that he can't lose his job, and Nathan, it's on him. Come on, we have to do something. He starts to investigate for himself. He starts to his own little investigation. And finds out, that a big thing which they can use. So it's to be or not to be. That's the question.
And ultimately, with the fact that all three of your characters become whistleblowers, it's not a space that they easily find themselves in or that they're looking to step into. So it's a very gradual process, and it really takes the three of them coming together and realizing that they are on the same page. And so for all of you, where did you kind of find the turning point of where you felt like that final decision lay in place of like, it's more important to speak out in order to protect more patients in the future than to try to protect myself professionally, because they all risk losing their jobs at that point?
I think for Anna, it's when she sees what's happening to the patients, and it's undeniable. And by that point, you two are already well on the road to whistleblowing, and I have to fight my way in. Like they actually don't want me to help them.
No, it's mostly
you. You don't want me anywhere near there because I've been
very
such
stubborn.
Why should you be allowed?
Because we need her.
You didn't want to allow me salvation. Personal salvation.
Why should I trust you?
Why should you? I know, but you did.
I did, and
because it was in the script.
Oh yeah, that's not the only. But that's not the only reason.
I convinced you. Well, also you needed me.
We needed her.
I had access.
It is true. I mean, she's got.
We needed each other.
Have the key, which gives us the proof, the kind of the smoking gun.
Yeah. You can't blow the.
So it does.
Spoiler.
Although I can't.
I don't know. Maybe you can.
It's all good. We're going to put this out once all the episodes drop, so we can.
I do think that I think that them coming together in the autopsy scene is kind of where the real cohesive muscle is built.
Yeah.
That is sort of the die is then cast with all three. They're all in it together.
Yeah, there's no way we're backing down now.
There's no backing down.
We have a moment before that, but we can't really. We decide to try to do something.
What are we without her? But
what we see in that autopsy is irrefutable for us, isn't it? So there's no getting away from it.
Yeah, not one of us could deny after seeing that.
No.
And when it comes to a lot of the language of the series, obviously you're dealing with a lot of complex medical language, and it's one of those things where you want to make sure that you're wearing the language and the language isn't wearing you as a performer. And so what was the work that you all did in preparation to really make sure that you kind of were able to deliver a lot of the complexities and would understand the emotional facets of all of that without necessarily getting a medical degree to do so?
Yeah, let me start because this is not my native language, English, so I had to do twice the job as you had to do.
You did twice the job, half as what? No, I'm joking. You did twice the job, 4 times
10% as good. No. But it's a challenge, but please let me hear your...
Well, I think that our approaches weren't dissimilar. I know that it's not English is not your first language, but those words were really unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, they're foreign to everyone.
I'm just a girl from Southeast London.
For me.
It's hard for me to say a TH, not make it an F.
What?
Because I'm from Southeast London. We say South, not South.
South.
It was hard for me to get my mouth around those words also. I think the only way is just to say the words a million times, make yourself feel as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
And
epithelium in
and
animals.
make them make sense.
Make it make sense. Yeah.
Ashley Michael Hoban, really availed herself to us a lot and provided us with great resources, so that all of that stuff, by the time we got to shooting it, we understood, if not for if only for a short period of time, exactly what it was that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Ashley Michael Hoban.
Ashley Michael Hoban.
Not me.
Yeah,
No.
The great,
Yeah, but
our leader.
yeah, she was fantastic. You can't.
That all of that stuff buys you the confidence that you need to say that stuff. If when you sort of convince yourself that you know exactly what it is, it's easier to kind of get your mouth around it. That's why going to surgeries, observing that was really beneficial. It all just sparks up the imagination and just makes you feel like you've experienced some of what we're talking about, instead of just putting on a good face.
And from observing surgeries and having the opportunity to do that, and the way that the team were kind of helping you with a lot of the preparation, how did you kind of find a lot of the movement in medical sequences as well? Because, it's like when we see your character, for example, Ashley, in a surgery, and she's the reason that that patient is still alive by the end of that surgery, we fully believe it from everything that's going on in the room. And you have so many other things that you have to think about to deliver the emotional complexity of the scene. So for all of you, how did you find the kind of mannerisms and motions of the surgeries for yourself?
For me, I when it comes to things like surgeries, I like to practice them as much as possible. And we did always have practices with the surgeries, so that when it comes to being there on the actual day, I can be as free and as real and as emotionally connected to the scene as possible. And then the physical action is almost second nature. And then it's just about choreographing the dance with your other actors in the scene and with the crew who are on set. And also the supporting artists, like the background was just incredible. A lot of those people were also medical professionals, so they were like a real source of knowledge and help and support. They would often let us know if we like, you don't hold it like that, and
exactly.
it was invaluable to have them.
And Luke, one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about in terms of your character's trajectory is the scenes that you play, and it kind of goes back to the fact that he does get very personally connected to his patients, and the relationship that he builds with a female patient who comes in, and ends up having one of the surgeries, and he's literally watching her deteriorate in front of his eyes, and he's taking it very personally because he's already lost a patient previously to this procedure at that point. And we see the impact of not sleeping, the breakdown of his relationships outside of work. And so what was the different scope in terms of the space that you wanted to find your character in during that trajectory?
Well, it was just great to explore, depletion, and the kind of what that is, how does that manifest physically, psychologically, it sure beats actually experiencing it, just getting to explore it.
Your beard was its own character.
It sure was. I just closed my eyes and clenched my jaw, and it starts coming out. It was a fun episode to shoot for sure. I mean, I think Alicia Rosa, who plays Yeshim, was also kind of everything that I needed to sort of imagine watching someone fall apart and lose. The kind of the light that she brought to the room just from showing up on set, was very distinct and very real, and her the kind of the hope that she exudes, that's in her eyes, that was all very present. So it was very hard to watch her fall apart.
I caught sight of her because I wasn't privy to those scenes, but I caught sight of her in her most deteriorated state. That makeup transformation was, oh my, it was so hot because like you said, she's beautiful and full of hope and light, and that's the interaction I'd had with her. And then when I saw her in that makeup look, it's ghastly, truly heartbreaking.
It's really painful to see.
And she's also the patient that she's young, and from the beginning she makes a little surgery that she has no problems whatsoever. She's doing a little thing because of some sweat in the hands or something, and then there's a problem with that, and then she comes to Karolinska, and Paolo, all of a sudden he removes the lung, and she has to have this trachea and she's so young, and it goes so far. So I mean, that even in the real life, I think that's if you just use that example, it's it tells everything about the disaster that this man created.
I totally agree with all of that. And the three of you did such a wonderful job in capturing so much of the complexities that come with telling a story like this in your performances. So congratulations, and thank you so much for talking about it today. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.